Today I'm going to be reacting to every free agent signing so far as of 6/21, uh, July 1st. Let's get into it. First, we got Draymond Green. I'm going to start from yesterday. Draymond Green signing to a 4-year, $100 million extension expected. Of course, he's going to re-sign after Jordan Poole left, as well as it's the Warriors' big three. He's really close with the Warriors, so of course he will resign. Next, we have Caris LeVert resigning to a 2-year, $32 million deal. Now, this is pretty decent deal. It's all right. It might be a little bit of an overpay, but LeVert goes back to the Cavs. Cavs kind of need that depth, and they got more soon, but later. But LeVert is a pretty good signing. Then Drew Eubanks signing to the Phoenix Suns on a 2-year deal. It's a nice backup because Suns always need more front court depth. They got Aiden. Then most of the other players are free agents that were in the front court last year. So Drew Eubanks is a decent player. Was an all-right player with the Blazers. Then Kyle Kuzma got a bag, 4-year, $102 million deal to return to the Washington Wizards. Now, this is a little bit surprising because Kyle Kuzma is he got a big bag. Now, he might be worth it later if he's turns to a really good player with the Wizards, but right now he's a little overpaid. Kobe White re-signs with the Bulls, 3-year, $40 million deal. That's a pretty good deal for Kobe White. He was a really good shooter and a player that the Bulls needed to get back, so good deal. Kidabase Diop signing a 2-year, $5 million deal with the Suns. Now, this is a good deal as well because the Suns need depth, and Diop is a pretty good player off the bench for the Spurs last year. Then free agent Taurean Prince signing with the Lakers for 1-year, $4.5 million deal. This is actually a pay cut because he declined the Timberwolves declined a team option, or he declined an option that was for around $8 million. So he lost a couple million to join the Lakers, but he's a very good player for the Lakers. More depth for the Lakers, and he can shoot the ball and play some defense. Then the Phoenix Suns getting Damian Lee back to a 2-year deal. Damian Lee was a pretty decent spark off the bench. Well, he didn't play that much, but he was a pretty good spark. Then the Indiana Pacers getting Bruce Brown to a 2-year, $45 million deal. This is a really good bag for Bruce Brown and for the Pacers too, because the second year is a team option. So if he doesn't work out, he can just leave the next year, or the Pacers can let him go. But this is a really good signing, and the Pacers are actually doing really good signings and trades and stuff. Talk about later, but they might be a play-in team next year. Halliburton, Leap, and Bruce Brown is a great player for their team. Next, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves signing Troy Brown Jr. to a deal. Now, Troy Brown was a pretty decent player for the Lakers last year, and the Timberwolves need some depth, so it's a good deal. Next, we got Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant goes to the what is it called? Jeremy Grant goes to the Blazers on a 5-year, $160 million contract. That's a little bit of a that is an overpay, not a little bit, but now since we got the news that Dame is gonna be leaving, that's a bit of a kind of a little bit of a waste because Jeremy Grant is starting to get a little bit older. He doesn't fit the timeline really that much of the Blazers, so yeah. And then we got the Bulls, Javon Carter signing for a 3-year, $20 million deal. The Bulls do need more bench depth, guard depth, with Ayo Dosunmu being a free agent, Patrick Beverley leaving. I'll talk about that later. And Lonzo Ball out for the next season already. Really good defense and decent shooting. Then we got Chimezie Metu signing a deal with the Suns. Suns got more depth in the front court. He's a pretty decent player and can help the Suns. Free agent George Niang signing with the Cavaliers for 3 years, $26 million. Cavaliers did really well this free agency. They signed players mostly that are small forwards or like power forwards that can shoot the ball. Last year their small forward was a really huge hole, and they got George Niang and some other players I'll talk about soon. Kyrie Irving returns to the Mavericks, kind of expected. Mavericks could not let him walk after they trade Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie for him. Jakob Poeltl staying again, 4 years, $80 million. The Raptors still think they can contend, and Jakob Poeltl gets around the same price as Nikola Vucevic, which is pretty decent. Then Chris Middleton resigns for a 3-year, $102 million deal. Chris was, a lot of people predicted Chris would go back, and he did. He is the second best player on the Bucks, so the Bucks get him back. They will do anything to get him back with Giannis, as they wanted a 2021 championship. The Brooklyn Nets re-signed Cam Johnson to a 4-year, $108 million deal. Now, this is a little bit of an overpay as well, similar to Kuzma's deal, but a little bit more even. He is going back to the Nets. It's a pretty good player, but like I think it's a little bit of an overpay. But Trey Jones signing a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Spurs. They're a point guard, well, for now, but he's their starting point guard, and he's been doing pretty decent. Last year, he was pretty good. Free agent Gabe Vincent, 3-year, $33 million deals to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers just added more depth to their team from last year, while, I'll just say it, keeping all of their players, basically their core. Gabe Vincent was one of the best players in the Miami Heat run, and he can shoot the ball, play some good defense, and fill in a hole as Dennis Schroeder, I'll say, later leaves. Joe Ingles signing a 2-year, $22 million deal with the Magic. Now, this is kind of an overpay, to be honest. Joe Ingles is probably not going to play much, but he's a really good mentor and a shooter. Maybe Orlando wants to try to contend. Shake Milton signing to a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Timberwolves. Timberwolves were playing a ton of bad guards, like Austin Rivers and stuff in the season. So Shake Milton adds another guard to their bench, and he's pretty good. Herb Jones signing 4-year, $54 million deal with the Pelicans. Herbert Jones goes back to the Pelicans on a bigger deal, worth it. One of the best defenders in the league, and his offense might grow. Miami Heat signs Josh Richardson to a 2-year deal, as well as Kevin Love. Kevin Love goes back after being a key part to their finals run, and Josh Richardson goes back after 2019, leaving in 2019, getting traded for Jimmy Butler, and Richardson helps with their depth as well as Love, and Damian Lillard might come to the Heat, so losing Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, which I'll talk about later, might not be as bad. Julian Champagnie goes to the Spurs back. He was a decent player for the Spurs, averaged 11 points in his final 15 games for the Spurs, and the Spurs really good at player development. He might be a pretty good bench player in the future. Rui Hachimura, 3-year, $51 million deal going back to the Lakers. This is a pretty decent deal for Rui. He was a really good player in the playoffs. He shot really well, played good defense, and of course the Lakers want to keep him. They traded him for Kendrick Nunn, and that was a big steal. Fred VanVleet, this is probably the biggest deal of the free agency. Fred VanVleet going to the Houston Rockets. It is kind of crazy that he got a 3-year, $130 million deal, making him $43 million a year. Houston gave him a bag, and of course he wants to go. And I don't know how help Houston. I think Houston really wants to contend soon, and they bring in Fred. Cam Reddish 2-year deal, possible, most likely a minimum deal. A good flyer for the Lakers. He might be a really good part of their team. He's shown potential, so he might be a good part of their bench. Shooter, Dennis Schroeder. As I said before, he left. He went to the Toronto Raptors for a 2-year, $26 million deal. Help fills in Fred VanVleet spot as a starter for a point guard of the Raptors, but a little bit worse. But you didn't need to pay $100 million to get him. You only need to pay 26. The Dallas Mavericks agreed to a 2-year deal worth around $9 million for Seth Curry, bringing him back again. I mean, he's played for the Mavericks before with Luka, so he knows how to play with Luka and Kyrie as well with the Nets. So this is a pretty good player for the Dallas. They could use more depth. O'Shea Brissett signing a 2-year deal with the Boston Celtics. He was a pretty decent spark off the bench for the Pacers, and Celtics add more to their depth as they traded Marcus Smart for Porzingis. Denver Nuggets bring back Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan. Reggie Jackson gets a 2-year, $10 million deal. It's a bit much for a player that doesn't play that much, but yeah, DeAndre Jordan resigns. Reggie and DeAndre are really good veterans, leaders for the Nuggets. Derrick Rose signing with the Memphis Grizzlies for a 2-year, $6 million deal. Derrick Rose, really good leader for players. He was a really good mentor to players on the Knicks, and now he is going to mentor Ja Morant, as well as playing decent amount. Wizards trade Monte Morris for a 2nd-round pick. The Wizards are jam-packed with guards, Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, DeLon Wright. So Monte Morris is the one to leave, going to the Pistons, who can use a backup point guard. Miami Heat trade Victor Oladipo to the OKC Thunder. Victor tore his patellar tendon, so I don't know if he's going to play next year. But the Miami Heat do this to create a $9.45 million trade exception. Maybe, Damian Lillard trade. Yeah. Tyrese Halliburton and Desmond Bane get a contract extension. Tyrese gets $260 million. Desmond Bane $207. Desmond might be a little bit of overpay, but he's a really good shooter and player. Max Strus signs a 4-year, $63 million deal. And it's a 3-team trade, including Miami Heat getting a 2nd-round pick and the Spurs getting Cedi Osman and Lamar Stevens and a 2nd-round pick. Cavaliers did not really trade much. I mean, Osman was a pretty decent player for them, but Max Strus is much better. He was one of the main players for the Miami Heat, and he fills the starting small forward spot that they really needed. They had like Isaac Okoro, Danny Green even, Cedi Osman, Caris LeVert, but now they find a player that can probably fill the role in Max Strus. 4-year, $63 is not as bad. Jackson Hayes signing a deal with the Los Angeles Lakers for the minimum 2 years. Really good flyer as well. He's an athletic center that can help LeBron catch alley-oops and stuff. Sasha, reigning MVP of the EuroLeague, has agreed to a 3-year, $20 million deal with a Sacramento King. I've seen a bit of his mixtape. He's a really good shooter, helping the Kings with his shooting. De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis, they're not as good at shooting, so yeah. Damian Lillard requests a trade. Probably going to the Miami Heat, but maybe not because the Blazers are trying to get a star back. Another guard, Micic from the EuroLeague, former MVP of the EuroLeague and champion, signs a 3-year, $23.5 million deal with the OKC Thunder. A very good player for them and can help them reach the playoffs. EuroLeague players, a lot of them go to EuroLeague and then now going to the NBA is really good. EuroLeague You can't underestimate them. Thomas Bryant is going to sign with the Miami Heat for a 2-year, $5.4 million deal. Much better than Cody Zeller, that's all I'm going to say. A good backup center for them. Los Angeles Lakers re-signing D'Angelo Russell back. 2-year, $37 million deal. That's a pretty nice deal for him. It's not that long, so if he does bad, he could get traded or something. And, I mean, he was really good besides in the playoffs. Philadelphia Sixers signing Pat Bev to a deal. We all know James Harden is going to leave, so they use Pat Bev as one of their depth piece with Tyrese Maxey and DeAnthony Melton. Brook Lopez going back to the Bucks, 2-year, $48 million deal. They had to pay a lot, but it was worth it because Brook is their anchor on defense, one of the best defenders in the league, and very valuable to the Bucks. Obi Toppin traded to the Indiana Pacers for 2 second-round picks. Obi Toppin, very good deal for the Pacers, as they were interested in Obi for a long time, and the Pacers finally get him, and their depth is in the power forward position is much better than it was a few days ago. Austin Reeves signing a 4-year, $56 million extension. He didn't even need to get a match. He was worth around $80 million, but he took the 56, which is really good deal for Reeves. Mo Wagner signing back to the Magic for 2-year, $60 million deals. A little bit of an overpay, but I mean, Franz is one of your best players, so maybe you want to sign Mo. LaMelo Ball agreed on a 5-year, $260 million deal. Second highest paid player in NBA history, and it is worth it for now. Damian Jones getting traded to the Cavs. A little bit more of center depth, as the Cavs don't really have that many bigs besides Mobley and Allen. Dwight Powell signing back to the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas gets Powell, Rashawn Holmes, and Derek Lively. A much better center lineup than last year. Ty Jerome signing a 2-year, $5 million deal with the Cavs. Decent pickup. He's a good shooter. Cavs can use some depth there. Dillon Brooks signing with the Rockets. Dillon Brooks getting a 4-year, $80 million deal. It's kind of big, but the Rockets, I guess, want to contend. Dillon Brooks is a really good defender. You just hope he doesn't shoot that much. But yeah, Jock Landale as well going to the Rockets. He gets a 4-year, $32 million deal. Only the first season is guaranteed, so they're taking a flyer on Jock. He was really good last year behind Aiden at the Suns, and he can shoot, and he can do a little bit of defense, and yeah. Russell Westbrook signing back to the Clippers, 2-year, $8 million deal. That's a really good deal for Russ. He was really good with the Clippers, and this is a really good deal for the Clippers. Russ has finally found his home in LA Clippers. Kenyon Martin also getting traded to the Los Angeles Clippers. Kenyon Martin getting traded for 2 second-round picks, which is not that much. And he will be filling a power forward hole that the Clippers will have if they trade Morris and Batum or Robert Covington, and he brings more athleticism and youth. That's basically it. Very long video, but yeah, that's basically it. Thank you guys for watching. We're out.